Hey, good morning, y'all. You are correct, Ritesh. It is me. It is I, Rosendo. Pleasure to see y'all once again at Global Hack Week October. You already know what it is. It's another fun week filled with challenges, activities, and all types of awesome things that you can learn. So, today we're going to be joined by our good friends at Solana with the Solana 101, an intro to the Solana blockchain. So, y'all have a lot of awesome content in store for you currently. I do want to let y'all know that we will have one of our good friends, obviously a good friend of MLH, Jacob Creech, joining us for the stream. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and plop him in here so y'all could go ahead and say what's up. How's it going, Jacob?
Hello, everyone.
All right. Well, I'll let y'all get to it. And if you need me, I'll be in the background. Yeah, take it easy.
Hello. Yes. So my name is Jacob Creech. I am developer relations at Solana Foundation, and I'm here to talk about Solana and kind of like intro you to what is the Solana blockchain. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Cool. All right. So Solana. So first, we're going to start out like for Solana. Most people don't even know what a blockchain is. So let's start out with like, what is a blockchain? So blockchains are basically, you can think of them like slow databases. So every time you see like a new application and you see a bunch of words put in about blockchain this, blockchain that, you can kind of replace that with slow database. It's really impossible for any blockchain to be as performant or scalable as regular databases, but it has specific use cases. That's what makes it special. So what are those use cases, and why do we care about these actual super slow databases? There's really kind of four main characteristics. There's more, but let's look at these four. So first one is like decentralization or censorship resistance. So, hey, we have a slow database that is not controlled by a single person, but anybody can add data to it and anybody can make new schemas to it. So let's take an example. If you're thinking of Postgres database, you have a schema for, let's say you have tickets or something, tickets to events. Anybody that creates an event, say it's a movie or it's a concert, can add those tickets to that event's schema, and it will be added to the database and everybody can see it, everybody can use it all at once. And so like multiple people can use that single entity. Another thing is what's considered as like digital sovereignty. Like anybody that actually is using this slow database has true ownership and control. So let's take an example of that ticket example again. Whenever you want to own that ticket out of that schema, you would actually own it. So instead of like someone else buying it and then reselling it to you and then taking the extra profit. You have the actual ownership. You own that ticket. No one can actually grab it from you. And then immutability and transparency. So if you think about that same ticket example, we can see exactly like how much people were previously buying and selling that ticket. We can understand like where that ticket originated from. Is it actually from the person? Like if you're going to a Taylor Swift concert, is it from the actual person who's selling tickets for that Taylor Swift concert? And am I actually getting the real deal? It's very easy to understand if it is the correct flow or for that ticket. And then the last one's kind of like composability. So everything that is built on top of a blockchain can actually talk to each other. So you have the say that ticket system. That ticket system can also be used for like rewards, and anybody can use that. So like say Bank of America wanted to reward people that go to that Taylor Swift concert, they can easily see like, okay, who actually went to that Taylor Swift concert. That is also has a checking account at Bank of America, and they can say like, okay, I know that person went there. I'm going to give them my rewards, and you can just automate rewards across the whole ecosystem just like that. All right. And see, I have one question already. How do we ensure that decentralized data is secure? Yes. So the decentralized data it's more of like whenever you put something in there, you have ownership between like a public private key. It's known as like a key pair. And so you know that data that exists on chain or in that slow database will will be truly owned by whoever is the signer or the holder of that private key. However, you ask like, how is that actually secure? On chain, you have to treat everything on chain as public. Um, so if you put something on chain, no, it could be accessed. It could be full. It's fully transparent. That's one of the key characteristics. So you don't really want to keep like secret information on chain. You can keep encrypted information on chain and then like decrypt it off chain via like some centralized entity. Like say, for example, if someone wanted to do like SSNs on chain, that's not really a good idea because everything would be transparent. Everybody could look up each other's SSN. It's not a good idea in general. However, if you wanted to allow those people to sign, like say instead of everybody has an SSN, they have a private key. You can prove that everybody is the true owner of that private key just by having them sign messages. This is like a normal thing and outside of blockchain. It's nothing new, but instead of SSNs, we just have private keys. All right, cool. And then we have another question. What's the beginner guide for learning DeFi or anything regarding decentralization? So there's a lot of guides online. So DeFi and decentralization, they're kind of like two split thing. So DeFi, there's a lot that goes into it. You could find a lot of things through just online Google searches. I don't have a exact article ready for you at this moment, but like you can look into like how does lending work on DeFi, and you can get a lot of information just by reading articles about how does lending work on DeFi. For like a sneak peek of that, in the normal today's case without a blockchain, lending works where you have deposits at like a bank. The bank holds the money, and then the bank lends it out to other people that want to borrow that money, and the bank kind of takes all of the the possibility of that person defaulting or not being able to pay back that loan. On blockchain, you don't have the bank. You would be lending directly to whoever wants to borrow that money, but what manages that on chain is what's considered like a smart contract. And then that smart contract gives the governance or the rules that allow people to lend and borrow. So it ends up being that you have the ability to lend to anyone and anybody can borrow. And based off of the governance or rules allowed, you take full cut on anything that is like the percentage rate on borrowing a loan. You take full cut. So that's a little bit different with blockchain versus actual banks. All right, let's continue. All right, so let's just evaluate some Web3 use cases. You hear Web3 thrown around a bunch, blockchain, etc., but not everything is good for blockchains. Not everything is good for Web3. So let's take it through a couple examples with those 4 characteristics in mind from the previous slide. So Bitcoin, or just consider like digital gold, it's like no one person owns it. You can fully own it, and it's fully transparent, but you can't really do anything on it. It's other than transfer what's considered money. So that's one use case. Uh, NFTs, or like your profile pictures. So what you can do is, like in Web3, you can have people draw something up. You can have them mint it on chain, meaning they put the picture on chain. And if you own that, you can prove that you owned it from that specific artist. So let's go back to that Taylor Swift thing. So if Taylor Swift decided to create like a music record and put it on chain and sold it, you could prove that you owned it directly from her. Same thing with artists that draw pictures and other type of paintings, NFTs. You can do that. Twitter does this today, to where you can replace your avatar with an NFT that proves that you got it from X and Y. You can do so. That's digital sovereignty, composability. You can do a lot of things with these NFTs. Actually, a lot of people like to do lending and borrowing, which is very interesting. Let's go to the next one, though. Payments. So payments is like the original use case of blockchains, Web3. So it allows anybody to do immediate payments. You truly own the money or credits that you started with. It's fully transparent. Like everybody knows exactly where the payments came from and how they got into your account. And because everything is on a blockchain with payments, you can do a whole bunch more with it. So instead of just, so you go into Starbucks and you pay for your coffee, you can also use that same money to lend on chain to other people, or do just 100 other use cases with just that money. So payments is like a really big deal with blockchain. Totally would recommend looking into it. And then if you think of like gaming, so gaming is an interesting use case. There's no really big group that has mastered gaming on Web3. But if you think about it, like think if you're familiar with Steam, and Steam has their Steam Marketplace with all their items. And basically Steam really owns those items. You don't truly own them. And what happens is that like they take a cut and all, and it can be transferred, and it's really locked down to Steam. So if you lose your Steam profile, you lose all your items, and it's game over at that point. With gaming on blockchain, you could say put those items on chain, and then you truly own those items, and you can take those with you wherever you are. So if Steam ever goes down, you're good to go. Same with composability. You can then use those items in various other use cases. For example, I know that there is a company that uses gaming items to like prove like how good you are in gaming in general. So you can say, I prove that I own these game items from this game. They're like incredibly rare items. It took X amount of time to get them. And you can surface all of that up on a simple UI for everybody. All right. So talked a lot about blockchain, but why Solana? So there's a number of different innovations that Solana brings to the table for blockchain. And you can see some of these here. So POH, which is proof of history. One of the things that blockchain has a big problem with is keeping time in check across all the nodes. So blockchain, there's tons of different nodes that run the system instead of just one central location. And so they have to keep a clock the same across all. Otherwise, they can't like prove that one one thing happen before another. So proof of history helps with that, to where you can prove that a transaction happened before, like X transaction happened before Y transaction, and it helps you order transactions. It helps you keep in sync across the network. It's really great. Tower BFT is kind of an optimized version of PPFT. What this is kind of like consensus protocol. It allows you to come to consensus so that there's no bad actors on this blockchain. Being given that it's truly decentralized and that nobody can own it, there has to be a good consensus protocol so that everybody can come to consensus and nobody can attack it and create full uh, like X money or whatever on the blockchain. So Turbine is interesting. Turbine is more of like, it's really, if you're familiar with like torrents. So one thing is like, hey, when you do a torrent, you put your information out there and everybody can grab it, but you grab it in specific sections, and then everybody at the end, you'll have the full, like say you're torrenting some files. So at the end, you'll have the full file, but you really got blocks of those files. That's how information is propagated against the network on Solana, and that's Turbine. Sea level. So this is kind of like a big deal on Solana. A lot of previous blockchains, they're like single threaded runtime. So what that means is one event has to fully complete before another event. With Solana and sea level, we can have all events happening parallel as long as they don't do the same thing. And then there's the last thing is Gulfstream, that allows you to have a bunch of transactions happen at once, and it forwards it from one to another. There's other blockchains that do a little bit different things called a mempool, and makes it very slow. All right. So Solana is really hot and it's on fire right now. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on. This is FireDancer. FireDancer is a whole new company building another client for Solana. This one's called Backpack, which creates an app store within Solana so you can find all the apps on Solana. It's really cool. Seahorse. So usually you build Solana programs in Rust. Somebody from the community created an entirely new program entirely new framework to build Solana programs in Python, allowing anybody to build Solana programs in Python instead of Rust. So it lowers the barrier to entry. There's a phone coming out, Solana Mobile, so that you can actually use everything on Solana within your mobile. There's a mobile stack, so you can have a just way of developing on a phone with Solana in mind, fully, like it's all there, all the libraries, all the mobile wallet adapter, React Native, everything's there. Super cool. And Metaplex is what is considered the NFT standard on Solana. You can create millions of NFTs for barely any amounts of Sol. So it's really great to have Metaplex there. There is Solana Spaces, which is actually a Solana store in New York City, and there's also one in Miami, to where you can go and you can see what a Solana is all about. It's really cool. But yeah, so you know all that, and there's just tons more that you can do in Solana. So if you look at like the key growth areas, you have payments, which I talked about earlier, social, you can do things like you see that on Twitter where you can trade the profiles, you can own tweets, all sorts of things. DAOs are like organizations where you can, as an organization, you can choose to do something as you can vote to do a specific action as a whole versus someone else owning the money, and then you go through all those things. Great example is somebody created a DAO to help pull funds together to own a copy of the Constitution. That's not a thing that normally could happen outside of blockchain. NFTs, we've gone through that before. DeFi, you can do that, lending and borrowing without a middleman, and gaming, which I mentioned earlier. And you can see that the ecosystem is growing. This is just all the apps that were built as of March 2022. There's tons more now. but you can see that it's really like exploding out here. And that is it for my presentation. So I'm going to take y'all through like quickly a hello world. If nobody has questions, I have the chat open in case someone does, but I'll take you through like a hello world on Solana. And then you can see like, okay, is this, how easy is this? How does this work? And then you can explore more if you're interested. All right. So we're going to open something called Solana Playground. Let's just move this over. All right, so if you go to beta.solpg.io, you can open it and it will go to what's called Solana Playground. It looks like an IDE. You'll probably be familiar with it. It looks very close to VS Code. At some point, we'll have this built into VS Code, but we don't do today, but we can try it out today. And I'm just going to explain it so that we can run through it real quick, and then we can ask any questions. So if you're familiar with like how you import libraries in say TypeScript or Node.js, etc., this is how you do it in Rust. We're just importing a bunch of libraries such as the Solana program library, account info, entry point, programming result, bub key, and message. And we'll go through those as we go through the program. So the entry point, what that means is like, okay, it needs a place to know on Solana what to execute. So you're telling it, hey, I want to execute this function. So if you think of that like in Python, you have that init function always at the beginning, or if you think of that in Node.js, you have like a main function, all sorts of things. So this is just that. So what I'm saying is, hey, when I start, I want to run this function. And every time you start, you're sent a program ID, a list of accounts, and instruction data. So that's so that you can do a bunch of things on chain with that program. So what we do here is we actually are not using any of this information, but we have to have it. And we're returning a program result. That program result in our case is just success. Okay. And this message, hello world, that is just like console.log in JavaScript. We're just literally saying output the message hello world on the blockchain, so you can put the message on chain. And that's it. That's like the entire hello world program on Solana. So if you wanted to then build this, there's a little build button right here, and we'll build real quick. What it'll do is it'll give you some increase the font size, sure. So someone asked, how do I get this boilerplate? Whenever you load beta.solpg.io at the beginning, you'll be asked to like import a project. So let us try doing that. See if solpg will allow me to do that. I guess it won't because I have all this cache. I can remove the cache, but it might cause some other issues. But basically, when you load it for the first time, it'll ask you what kind of project you want to load. It'll say like native, anchor, or seahorse. So if I chose native for this one, and it will, whenever you click that button, it will automatically load hello world for you. It really is the default one. Alternatively, I can share this with everyone, and so that everybody can just use this boilerplate to begin with. So let's see. All right, I'm not sure how to comment in the chat with this, but if you follow the link that the Major League Hacking commented, it will give you a shared link for this boilerplate. Okay. So going back to this, when we built the program, it generated some warnings. These are warnings because I'm not using like these variables. That's okay. Second thing is, hey, I've built it. I actually have to deploy it to Solana because like it's like I built a Node.js app. I have to deploy it somewhere in order to actually use it. So normally, if you haven't used it already, this button will say deploy. So if you just click this, it'll deploy. And it might cause there might be a thing where you have to first like connect a Solana Playground wallet. So let's just go through that real quick. So if you click this little not connected button, and it'll connect to a Solana Playground wallet, it'll pop up a little thing saying like, hey, do you want to save anything? You just hit continue and you'll be connected. So you can see that I deployed, completely deployed to the network, this program, and now I can actually use it. So how do I actually hit hello world in a way? Let's go through this real quick. So this is kind of how you hit hello world. This is more of like, you can run this on, I'm going to run this in VS Code because it's actually simpler to do that way. So if you look at this, this is just using what's considered a TypeScript library called web3.js, so that you can actually hit hello world. I'm on DevNet, so you can check that on here. It says down here, DevNet. And the program ID for you that you would find would just be under Program Credentials, Program ID. So here I'm creating a connection so that I can do things on the network. Here I'm generating a key pair to be a payer of all transactions on the network. I'm requesting an airdrop so that I can have free money to do things on the network here. Then I confirm that airdrop so that I actually have the money. And here we can see the example Explorer. This is kind of so that you can actually see the transactions on the network. I create a new transaction and I add some things so that I can actually hit the hello world. So the first one is saying that, hey, I'm paying with this. It's signing for this transaction. I'm not changing information on it. This one is, hey, I'm using the system program, which is what we had previously. It's not signing and it's not changing information. And then using the program ID that we used earlier that we created. I just send and confirm it, and we can see when it'll log that it submitted. So if we look at that transaction real quick, we can scroll down and it will say hello world down there. So zoom in so we can see hello world. So that is a full hello world. But yeah, is there any questions on one, writing hello world for Solana, or two, Solana in general? I'm open to anything. All right, doesn't really look like there's any questions at this time. I think we're good then. Thank you for coming and learning a little bit about Solana and a quick hello world. Happy to help out with anything else. You can reach me at Jacob V Creech on Twitter, or Jacob Creech on Discord, or Jacob Creech on Telegram. I'm available for you. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jacob. We really appreciate you being here, and thank y'all for sticking around and learning a little bit about Solana. I'll let you go ahead and get on your way, Jacob. Really appreciate you being here once again, and huge shout out to Solana. Take it easy.
All right. Adios. Bye.
All right, folks. So we've got a little bit of time left before our next stream. I did want to let y'all know that we do have a challenge currently up on our website. So if you go to the Global Hack Week website, you will see the challenge that is there for Solana. It is to build a Hello World application. You will be going to the same playground that Jacob just demoed for us here today. And make sure you do check him out on Twitter, Jacob V Creech, at Jacob V Creech. So, you could also find him on Discord and on I believe Twitch, at Jacob Creech, minus the V. So good stuff, y'all. Really appreciate it. Once again, looking forward to the rest of the content that we have rolling through at Global Hack Week. Be sure to hit us up on the Discord channel as well. We're going to be there answering questions, letting y'all know what's up next. So drop in and let me know what's good. I guess that's it for now. I will see y'all momentarily. Once again, have a good morning, y'all. Really appreciate y'all being here.